NFL teams compete for Super Bowls year in and year out, and in order to win a Super Bowl, you have to have a team filled with great players. And as obvious as that sounds, a lot of time players are on heavily discounted deals relative to their production due to a variety of reasons. Some, like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, are on the rookie scale contracts, while others, like the players we are going to discuss in today's video, are having career years and will be compensated in a big way this offseason. Some of the players are on a contract right now that was given to them because there were previous injury concerns, while others have broke out and are playing at a Pro Bowl level, and the key here, that they are young enough to receive a big contract this offseason. We will discuss compensation, contract length, and whether or not they go to a new team in free agency too, and there is a lot to dive into in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video with Vikings pass rusher Danielle Hunter. Danielle is currently tied for leading the league in sacks with 13.5 in 12 games, and if he has a mere 2 sacks in the final 5 games, he will break his previous career high in sacks, which is 14.5, which he achieved in the 2018 and 2019 seasons. You may have heard about his contract situation entering the 2023 season, and how he either wanted a long-term deal or to be traded to a team that would offer a long-term deal, and it's understandable from Danielle's standpoint. He entered the 2023 season with 4 double-digit sack seasons to his name, along with 3 Pro Bowls, and the big reason the Vikings were hesitant to give Hunter a long-term deal was because of not 1, but 2 season-ending injuries which happened in 2020 and 2021. Danielle would go on to have a 70 pressure, 10.5 sack season in 2022, and despite not having 70 pressures in the 2023 season, at least not yet, he has eclipsed the 10.5 sacks from 2022, and like we said, has 13.5 in just 12 games. And Danielle has been in the league since the 2015 season, and despite him being in the league for nearly a decade, he is just 29 years old, and when the Vikings drafted him back in 2015, he didn't turn 21 years old until late October in his rookie season. So needless to say, Danielle wasn't out enjoying a cold one after the first few wins of his career, and all jokes aside, it makes a lot of sense for the Vikings to pay him this offseason because he has more than proven himself as one of the best pass rushers in the league. It would also make sense for the Vikings to protect themselves from a long-term standpoint in case Danielle would have a 3rd season-ending injury, and that's why we are projecting Danielle to sign a 4 or 5 year deal this year in the ballpark of $120 to $125 million, and if he were to sign a 5-year deal, it would be in the ballpark of around $150. Nick Bosa signed a 5 for $170 extension with the 49ers back in September, and Danielle naturally would want to be compensated in the same area. His AAV, or average annual value, would be in the $31 million per year range, which is less than Bosa's 34, and he would be more than taken care of. And hopefully for the sake of Vikings fans, Danielle would finish his career in Minnesota. The numbers of course could vary a few million per year, but what really matters with NFL deals is the guaranteed money. And the reality of NFL contracts is unless the money is guaranteed, the money really doesn't matter, and for any younger viewers watching that may not remember this, the Bucs traded for and signed Hall of Fame corner Darrelle Revis to a 6-year, $96 million extension with none of it guaranteed because Revis quote-unquote wanted to earn the money. The next year, the Bucs tried to trade him and eventually released him, and it didn't owe him any money because, again, they didn't give him any guaranteed. And the reason we bring this up with Danielle is because that's what's going to matter here. The $120 million extension to a player who's had injury concerns sounds like a lot, and it is, but the Vikings would do everything they could to ensure they are protected. Meaning, I think Danielle would be offered around 60 to 65 guaranteed, and if he didn't pan out, the Vikings could release him after 2 years of the deal. Next up is Marquise Brown of the Cardinals, and whatever you think of Hollywood as a player, which is probably something along the lines of a solid number 2, but not a great receiver, I think Marquise will get paid this offseason, and I think that number may be bigger than you expect, and here's why. The Cardinals acquired Hollywood and a 3rd round pick on night 1 of the 2022 NFL Draft from the Ravens, and picked up his 5th-year option following the trade. In 5 years, Marquise has just one 1,000-yard year, though I do think he has the talent to be a perennial 1,000-yard receiver. And despite Marquise never having even an 1,100-yard year, as the lone 1,000-yard season he had occurred back in 2021 when he finished the year with 1,008 yards, I think the best football for Marquise is still in front of him. him. The Cardinals will probably finish the 2023 season with a top 2 or 3 pick, and I think there is a very good chance Arizona has a receiving duo next year of Marvin Harrison Jr. and, of course, Marquise. And if you haven't been paying attention to college football or the NFL draft yet, which I don't blame you if you haven't, as it's only the first week of December, Marvin Harrison Jr. is viewed as one of the best receiving prospects since Calvin Johnson in 2007, and there are virtually no weaknesses to his game. It's very possible MHJ walks into a 1,000-yard rookie year, and having him on the team would benefit Hollywood from a standpoint of how defenses approach the Cardinals. Not only that, but as we mentioned, the Cardinals traded a first-round pick for him, and they won't want him to leave in free agency for, well, nothing. So in a lot of ways, Marquise has the Cardinals right where he wants them from a negotiation standpoint. I'm sure he wants the numbers to be a little higher so he can ultimately ask for a bigger number this offseason, but the reality is, unless the Cardinals are offered a high pick for a sign and trade, I think it's almost certain that Marquise will be a Cardinal in 2024 and beyond. And if he's not, then that's a laughable trade on Arizona's part, and despite the poor record, I like a lot of the moves they've made in the past year. Granted, this move to acquire Marquise was former GM Steve Keim's move, but I don't think new GM Monty Ozenfort would be dumb enough to show Marquise the door just a year and a half after acquiring him. And during the year and 3 quarters since Marquise has been a Cardinal, he missed time during the 2022 season, and Kyler tore his ACL in just the second game Marquise was back after missing 5 games. And having a backup quarterback will hurt your numbers no matter who you are as a pass catcher, let alone Marquise Brown. And the reason we bring this up is in the first 6 games of 2022, aka when Kyler and Marquise were both healthy, Hollywood had over 480 yards and was on pace for a 1,300-yard season along with 8 receiving touchdowns. This, of course, is what he was on pace for. I don't think the Cardinals are ready to compete in the NFC by any means, but I really do like the future they have in front of them with a healthy Kyler, Marquise Brown, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Contractually speaking, I think he would sign a 3-year deal as he will turn 27 next June, and that would benefit both sides. Marquise gets paid big money for the first time, and it would also allow him to receive a 3rd contract at 30 years old. The Cardinals don't have anybody big to pay at the moment either, as they already paid Kyler, and I think this move makes a lot of sense for both sides. Now, from Arizona to Hollywood's old team, we go to discuss a player who's had a resurgent year, and that's Jadeveon Clowney of the Ravens. If you weren't aware Clowney is on the Ravens, it's always a shock the first time you watch the Ravens on TV or throw in the tape and ask, who is number 24? And the number change messes us all up from time to time, but Clowney has been very productive this year and has recorded 55 pressures in the first 12 games. Clowney is actually second on the team in sacks to Justin Madubuike, who very easily applies to today's video too, but with Clowney, he's in a unique situation as he will be 31 years old next year, which brings the question of how much will he truly get paid. Teams will ask if he's a product of how good the Ravens defense is, and if he's really worth true number 1 pass rusher money. And Clowney signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Ravens this offseason, as he's only getting paid $2.5 million this year, at least base value, and I think with how Clowney has played in 2023, he has earned himself a 2 or 3 year deal with another contending team. And like we mentioned with Danielle Hunter, the structure of his deal is going to be key because teams are not going to shell out a ton of guaranteed money to a 31-year-old pass rusher who is coming off of a career year with a great team. I think they're going to look at Clowney and hope he can do the same for their team, but certainly not expect it. And because of this, I think Jadeveon's next contract will be heavily laid with incentives, and for a guy this late into his career, I think that would make a lot of sense for both sides. Clowney's current contract with the Ravens has incentives where if he reaches 9 sacks, he will receive a $1.75 million bonus, and if he plays 65% of the snaps, he will also receive a $1.75 million bonus. There were also incentives for reaching 5 and 7 sacks, which Clowney has already reached, and at this point in career, Jadeveon does not have a Super Bowl ring. That, of course, could change this year as the Ravens are one of the best teams in football, but if in the scenario he doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, I could see him taking a cheap deal filled with incentives and signing with a team like the 49ers. There wouldn't be pressure there for him to be the main guy, and if he continues to play at a level like he has this year, and stays healthy of course, he would reach the incentives pretty easily. The concept also applies if he were to sign somewhere like Dallas, for example. Clowney has 7 games with 5 pressures or more in 2023 and is on pace for a 77 pressure season, which would be a career high by far. His previous career high in pressures is 64, which he achieved back in 2017, and this is all per PFF, by the way. And if Clowney were to sign a 2 or 3 year deal, it would be very similar to Daniil, where there is little guaranteed money after his first year due to his age. To be completely honest, I would be surprised if he is a Raven next year, but I do think Clowney will sign with another contender and look to get either his first or potentially second ring. Now, I know the video is titled 4 NFL players who are going to get paid this offseason, but I wanted to include 2 offensive linemen that have been doing a good job all season long, and the first is Kevin Dotson of the Rams. Dotson has played in over 300 pass blocking snaps for the Rams in 2023 and has allowed a mere 8 pressures and just 2 sacks. This was a classic trade a player in the final year of his deal between the Steelers and Rams back in August, and Dotson has provided great dividends for the Rams in his short time there. Given how much offensive line is emphasized in today's NFL, and given how hard it is to acquire good offensive linemen, I would be surprised if the Rams let him walk in free agency. They didn't give up a lot to get him, but not having to worry about your right guard for the next 3 or 4 years is simply less stress on Sean McVay and Les Snead's plate. Dotson has also paved the way in the run game for the Rams this year and is the 5th highest graded run blocking offensive lineman in the entire NFL. And if you were wondering, Dotson is the highest graded run blocking guard in all of football. The Rams gave up a 2024 4th and a 2025th for him and received a 2024 5th and a 2025 6th, and of course Kevin in return. We often see trades like this for guys in the final years of their deals, and for the 8 games Kevin has played for the Rams, it's been a hell of a return on the investment. Kevin was an older prospect and was 24 as a rookie back in 2020 and will turn 28 next year, which of course isn't old, but I don't think teams, or the Rams for that matter, would want to shell out a 4-year deal knowing he will be on the wrong side of 30 in the final year of that deal. I think it would ultimately be a 2 or 3 year deal for Dotson. Connor Williams, the Dolphins center, has been playing great this year too, and in 250 pass blocking snaps, he has allowed a mere 5 pressures. That's it. And like how we discussed with Dotson being the 5th ranked run blocking offensive lineman in football per PFF, Connor Williams is also in the top 5, and he's actually the best run blocking lineman in football. Williams was a 2nd round pick for Dallas back in 2018, and after his rookie deal expired, he signed a 2-year, $14 million deal with the Dolphins in March of 2022. Connor was a guard for Dallas, but switched to center upon signing with Miami, and he's been playing at a high level during his time with the Dolphins. Obviously, with players like Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen on the team, along with Mike McDaniel, guys like Connor go under the radar. Good offensive linemen typically don't hit free agency, and with Tua's history with injuries, aside from Tua himself getting a contract extension this offseason, I would imagine Miami's biggest priority would be to ensure Connor Williams is an orange and teal moving forward. He will be just 27 years old during the 2024 season, so the deal will really rely on whatever Connor prefers. He's such a talented player along the interior part of their line that they will pretty much back the brink trucks and give him whatever he asks. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 28% of people watching are subscribed, and not only helps the channel, but is also very much appreciated. And until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.